You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Melanie, and in the future, we'll find out that a lot of future predictions are inaccurate because we use computers to run simulations for us to make those predictions, and computers apparently don't understand chaos. And if you don't understand chaos, then you can't predict the future accurately. So,
this is Randy, and in the future, it'll be discovered that the moon landing was faked. It was shot on a soundstage by Stanley Kubrick 2 miles under the surface of Mars.
And this is Jesse. In the future, guys, I can't see beyond episode 100. What does that mean?
means there is no future.
Oh no! Oh no!
In the future, we've run out of the future. There is no future but what we make. That's not quite right.
Yeah.
The Grawlix podcast, Dark Fate.
Oh no! Oh no!
We're just gonna,
we don't have a lot of time left, guys. This is episode 99.
No, I know.
And
then what?
I don't know. I can't see it.
The future is unclear.
Shake again.
Yeah.
This has been the Grawlix podcast. In the future is unclear.
Or is
all signs point to yes. Oh, I like that. See, now I'm thinking of future predictions. Now that we're almost to the future, I'm thinking of future predictions.
Yeah. Maybe in the future we can do like in the past.
I do like that, actually. I like that. I also like the idea of doing in the future predictions from the point of view of somebody from like the past, so we could just like pick random past events and point out how ridiculous they are.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Grawlix podcast, episode number 99.
Woo!
I got 99 problems, but Grawlix ain't one.
I love that. That's so good. It's taken us over 5.5 years. Just shy, like we're just like 3 or 4 months shy of 6 years to get to episode 99.
Yep.
Now, of course, that doesn't include any of the live shows or the new Grawlix nights or the old Grawlix nights or Grawlix Bites or all the pre-shows. But
it makes me think of that thing where it says, I don't go too fast, but I go pretty far.
Also, it's October. It's Halloween.
It's the greatest season of the year.
It is. It's the greatest
the
season.
Most wonderful time of the year.
It is.
I do love me some Halloween.
Who doesn't? Man?
This year, it's definitely one of those where I started feeling it in September.
Yeah, me too.
I always like, the beginning of September, I'm like, oh, it's coming. Mm-hmm. Halloween's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seemed like summer went forever, too.
Yeah.
So, like, seeing fall stuff show up in the grocery store, even though it was, like, still hitting, like, high 80s or 90s, I was like, I'm okay. My body is ready.
All right. So, this episode, since it's our Halloween episode, I'm like, hey, what can we do? Obviously, we don't have a big, fancy Halloween special plan this year like we usually do, mainly because we're busy with other fancy specials coming up and lots of live shows we've been doing. Grawlixpodcast.com/live. That'll take you to there. Actually, I just started recently, once we like are kind of winding down on the live series, posting them to the Grawlix site, because otherwise I haven't posted any of them to the Grawlix site. But so point is, we've been busy. However, our previous year's Halloween specials, those are timeless.
Yeah.
So I do recommend going back and listening. Grawlix Podcast Halloween Special 2018 was great. We had Jasper, our G-Fam brother from Grawlix Cinematic Universe, join us, and we did a tabletop game, slasher-themed tabletop game. Great fun. The game itself was a little iffy, but the episode is amazing.
I reference it all the time. Like, I still call him Connor.
I know. It's you did in chat the other day. And it took me a second. I was Connor. Oh yeah. No, I love it. I really wish that episode would have got more traction, and it still can because it's timeless. Go listen to it, listener. And then the year before, we also put a lot of work into. We did a House of Mysteries, a Swamp Thing fan produced. Don't sue us, DC. Audio drama, the very first Swamp Thing story, and that is great as well.
Yeah, and it was
the same year that Bernie Wrightson and
Bernie Wrightson, yeah,
both of them passed that year.
Oh, Len Wein, yeah,
and Len Wein, who was only a few months before.
And so it was somewhat of a.
It's sad. It was our homage.
Yeah,
but we got to interact with Len Wein's widow on Twitter. She listened. I think she liked the audio drama a lot. I don't think she really cared much for our commentary afterwards. Yeah. But still super cool. And she is also an entertainment lawyer, and we haven't got sued for it. So I good.
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on us.
Whew.
However, this year, so we were like, what are we going to do? And Jesse was talking to me not long ago about Christopher R. Mihm movies, as he often does. And I'm like, how have we not done a Mihm episode talking about Christopher? If you, listener, you probably don't, it's possible you don't know who this is. Christopher R. Mihm, for one, is one of the first people we interviewed on the podcast. He's one of the first people I talked to at, what convention was it?
It was Ozfest.
Ozfest.
That's back on episode number 7. Lucky number 7.
Yeah.
Wow. And so he was one of the very first people we interviewed on the show. I talked to him. It was just brief, but I talked to him at the convention, recorded it. Jesse, Melanie was asking me last night, actually, did you know of him or his movies before?
No. In fact, so you did that interview, and I listened to the interview, and it sounded great. And then Axton and I tabled at Scream in the Dark Film Festival later on that year, and still didn't know who he was. And they were playing his movies right there in the main hall, and I was like watching it and was like, "What is this? This is both incredible and ridiculous." Like, because I'm catching it like in snippets, like I'm catching it like partway through, and I'm like, what is happening right now on that screen over there? And so we almost started doing like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 type of thing with our booth neighbors. And then I was like, wait a minute, why is it? Because I asked, I was like, what are these movies? And they were describing it to us, and I was like, wait a minute, I recognize this because you had talked to him and you had interviewed him, and I finally put 2 and 2 together on the whole thing. I think that was shortly after The Giant Spider and the Late Night Double Feature were released, and I was hooked. Like I was hooked after watching those. I looked up those same movies and picked up a copy of each so I could experience them in their entirety. And then I started backing all the movies from then on, starting with Danny Johnson Saves the World under the Grawlixpodcast.com contributor credit. So we have since then contributed 5 movies that have been released and 1 that is coming out. So we've got our half a dozen movies with our name attached, and hoping to get those made.
Yeah, so Jesse became a huge fan, and I love the idea, but I still had never watched any of them. So we're like, well, let's do a Mihm episode.
Yeah.
Seems appropriate. And so we watched none of the movies that Jesse backed under the Grawlixpodcast.com.
No, I was laughing about that when you told me which ones you watched, because I was like, whoops.
Well, we wanted to do The Giant Spider, and I know he had made movies prior to this, but that was, I think that's the one he was really actively promoting when we talked to him initially. And then you had recommended a few, including the double feature. The double feature sounded interesting to me. Before we watched the double feature, I looked it up and I was like, "Oh, our name's not in this. I want to see one with a Grawlix podcast in the credits." And I was looking at the other ones. I was like, you know what though, the double feature still sounds cool. So we're just going to do that.
Right. You get a couple of different flavors, and yeah.
So we are going to talk about this episode. We're going to talk a bit about those movies, The Giant Spider and Late Night Double Feature, which is actually 2 like shorter movies, hence double feature. So listener, what these movies are, what Christopher R. Mihm does, he has a very specific thing he does. They're low budget movies. They're definitely acts of love, or is that the right? Passion projects, whatever. And he self-describes them as new, old, good, bad movies.
Yep.
The Giant Spider, for example, it's basically a modern 1950s giant monster insect movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's the aesthetic. I mean, it's time period appropriate, which has got to make the cost significantly more to produce these things.
Yeah, we were watching them, and in both movies, I'm like, he's got to be friends with somebody who's just a car buff that has all these old cars, because there's way too many of them in these movies for somebody who's trying to make a low budget movie to have in his movie, unless he's buddies with somebody.
Yeah. So okay, let's go ahead and jump into it a little bit, because that is a good point. The Giant Spider, we're watching this, and it's period appropriate. It's shot cleverly. Like, first off, he totally understands less is more. Like, he get away with really kind of selling the aesthetic by embracing the fact that, well, for one, the original movies were super cheap anyway. Mm-hmm. And so, like, they understood less is more. A bare bones set, just enough to, like, it looks decent, enough to sell that it's this place, and in Mim's case, sell the time period. Yeah, this seems totally actually appropriate. And then, like, there's a drive-in scene, and it's like, okay, well, the drive-in, that's not necessarily actually a drive-in where the cars are. It's just like a field. But there's all kinds of period appropriate cars. And mm-hmm. That's when I was like, wow. That's the kind of stuff that makes period movies are expensive.
Yeah.
The outfits and the cars is expensive. Either he's in a car club or as friends in the car club, because there's a lot of really nice looking like mint 1950s vehicles.
Yeah. Including that motorcycle with the sidecar.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The movies are black and white. They are high def. I did rent them in high def because I accidentally rented the first one in high def. It was $1 more. And I was like, I just want to rent this the cheaper one.
Were they all in black and white?
Yeah. Except the Giant Spider title was in red. And I was like, that's cheating. But yeah.
Well, he's actually, like, as time has gone on, his most recent release was The Queen of Snakes, and spoilers, that's got some color in it. Like, he's kind of, as he's gone along, I think, what is this, like 12, 13 movies that he's got out now? He's kind of updated. So it's like we've hit the point where he's gone through and he's done kind of the homages that he wants to the 50s, and now he's kind of throwing in some homages to some of those later time periods as well.
Queen of Snakes, I had to watch the trailer for that. Does feel like one of those weird 60s movies that you'd see.
I could have swore that the one in space was in color, because I feel like the alien was green.
Oh, really? I in my mind, I picture him as like reddish.
Really?
Yeah, it was black and white.
Okay.
Probably was green though. The aesthetic. That's kind of the big thing. So these are very low budget movies. Some of the actors are pretty good. There's a lot of bad acting. There's a lot of intentional bad acting, which is a super clever way to cover bad acting.
Right.
Like, it's a smart move on his behalf. I commend him for dedication to the aesthetic, because I could understand doing a couple movies, but doing 12 movies or so. And he does nail because you had mentioned, like, the Giant Spider was good, but also, like, suggested watching some of the newer ones because he's, gotten better. Even the Giant Spider nails it, because if you take video and because it's obviously shot on digital video, newer, it's high def, looks good. It's a consumer or prosumer grade equipment. If you just take video and then just black and white, desaturate colors, it's still not going to look right. You have to hit, like, there's a certain contrast, and there's a certain, like, black and white kind of color balance, if you will, to really nail that 50s movie aesthetic. And he nails it. I feel like he could, Melanie mentioned it, pull back from the vignette a little bit. Vignette's a little dark, not totally necessary, around the frame, around the image, but it's part of, like, drive-in movie and projector.
Do we know? If somebody knows, someone needs to tell us. There's some cigarette burns.
That was the next thing I was gonna say.
Yeah, and a little flicker. Is there hidden? What do you call those?
Oh,
frames in
Fight
there?
Club type stuff.
Yeah.
He's
is there
such a
Fight Club
fan
in
of
there?
movies. That's kind of funny. I know for a fact that he does that kind of thing in like House of Ghosts, which is his love letter to the like environmental movie. Who was that guy that did that? Where he would like pipe in smells and that kind of thing. And then he would like put intentional, like he would flash a word on the screen and that kind of thing. And he would do an intro before the movie started where he would like say that you need to wear these glasses at certain points in the movie because otherwise you could legitimately die from fright. Like that kind of like over the top type of thing.
William Castle, I think. I could be wrong.
That could be it. Yes.
Very gimmicky.
Yes.
50, like Vincent Price popped up. Like The Tingler was another one where they'd have little like they rigged up little zappers into the seats of the audience and stuff, like just crazy stuff. And like the whole thing is like you had to scream. So in certain parts of the movie, audience scream. You have to scream. And then at one point it's like it's in the theater and like just crazy gimmick stuff. That's fun though. That's fun. Was that the one that was like presented in Plasmovision or something?
Yes, something
silly.
like
okay,
that, yeah.
I did see that. Okay. He nails them. He nails the aesthetic and the feel of these movies. But one thing, more so with the Giant Spider, I enjoyed the other movies. We'll talk about those in a moment. But Giant Spider, my introduction to these movies.
Oh, yeah, your first official Christopher R. Mihm movie.
One thing that struck me, these movies are funny. There's a lot of humor. Some of it's super cheesy humor. It's intentionally cheesy humor. Some of it I found legitimately funny. But one thing that struck me while watching The Giant Spider, we weren't that far into it. I'm like, having watched several of the movies that this is homaging, several of the old low-budget monster movies of the 50s, I can tell you right now, he's already put way more care into writing of the script than any of those movies.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because a lot of those movies, they're just pumped out. Filmmakers, they didn't care. They didn't have a burning desire. It's just, those were making money in the drive-in. So let's just pump out a bunch of, it's like if you watch Ed Wood and he's like, they got the poster. He's like, just make this movie. I don't care what it's about. Just put something so I got something to put on screens. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of thing. So they're a little dull. But you can tell here, it's like, no, he's trying, man. Like he gets it. He loves those movies, but he's actually putting effort into it. And I mean, obviously.
And they all kind of tie into each other. Like he describes it as the Mimiverse, and they all kind of tie together. And so there's like little jokes throughout the entire run of these movies. Like there's almost always a Ghostbusters reference. There's usually some kind of Star Wars reference, especially in the space ones. I'm sure you probably noticed that in the double feature. There's usually a flashlight gag where they like check out the flashlight to see if it works before they proceed, where they flash it into their own face a couple times.
One thing I noticed is a lot of riffs on the sexism of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of riffs on the sexism of the time. That's like a major, and that's accurate, but that's like a major theme of both the space one we watched and the Giant Spider. Mm-hmm. Not so much the other one, but the other one was kind of an outlier. And
were there even? Oh, there was one woman.
The
in
third,
it, but,
the second double feature one.
Yeah, but there was only that one woman in it.
Yeah.
So
right,
and half the time she wasn't even really a woman.
Melanie, let's talk at me.
Giant Q-tip. That's my whole. There was a giant Q-tip, and that's enough.
It's so funny. I think the thing that got the biggest laugh out of me was, it still seems so funny, and I don't know why. When they're in the barn. Oh, I did enjoy the alien joke where they're in the barn, and he's like, doesn't want to tell them what's coming because he knows they're gonna laugh at him. They're like, well, what is it? Is it aliens? And he's like, hey, what? No. And then he finally tells them, he's like, it's a giant mutant spider the size of a corn silo. And they're laughing at him. And he's like, what? Would it have been better if I told you it was aliens? They're like, oh, yeah. And he's like, what? And they don't buy it. They don't believe him. And finally, he's like, it's aliens. And they're like, oh, my God. They all run out. And he's like, how is that better?
Yeah.
But that's not what got the big laugh out of me. The big laugh was when him and his fiance were in the barn, and the door opens, and that the leg prop from the spider. I don't know why. It's not a bad prop. It's just so funny. It just like pokes in and like taps the floor a little bit. I just lost it.
Now, I could be wrong about this one, but I believe that this one was supposed to be kind of intentionally funny, like as far as his movies go, because like they all have that like unintentional humor charm to them, but like this one, I think he intentionally wrote to be kind of funny and fun.
Yeah, there were definitely I could tell. The other ones are funny. It is that kind of like it's intentional camp,
right?
But this one, the dialogue had more jokes written in than the other one.
Yeah.
The other ones were just funny either through just performances or just, embracing the super cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, can we jump into the next ones a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh my God, pegboard.
Oh yeah. I love how he like creates futuristic sets using low budget materials, and like it's not a very big ship. like just embraces that.
Yeah, and I'm like, it is kind of genius though. Like it's basically the set is pegboard taped together with lights behind it, and it's amazing.
Okay, what is it? Something about Planet X.
Is it
the Fiend from Planet X?
The Fiend from Planet
or
X.
The Fiend from Beyond X. The Fiend from Beyond Space, I believe, is what it's called.
Okay. God, that one really nails it too. He nails it in that these old movies, the old low budget movies, and this is kind of a lot of people's issues with older movies, they were low budget and showing monsters and action and was expensive. It's expensive now, but it was even more expensive back in the day when you had giant film cameras that were heavy and cumbersome. They say the rule in filmmaking is show, don't tell. These old movies are like, nope, just tell. You put some characters in a room, switch to a different angle if you need another room, and just have them tell the story because it's cheap. And he embraces that. In the space one, I liked it. It was a little long, even though it's really not. It's short. But he embraced the like tell, don't show. But it's a series of like, they're on a spaceship, but it's a series of tiny rooms with these pegboard walls. And you could tell it's obviously like just the same pegboard walls, just slightly arranged different, and a different thing hanging on them is for every room. And every room has a little plaque that says what that room is. I was like, that's fun. That's clever.
Uh-huh.
You have like the music references too. So you have J Cash, and like the
one
character's name is June.
I don't know what the floor was. It was not metal, but the Foley, it's all like that walking on metal grate sound every step. And after I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. Like I was just paying attention to that the whole time. And I was like, it's actually pretty good Foley work, but it's clearly they're not on metal grates, but it sounds like it. So that amused me. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it. I think it's the least entertaining of the three we watched.
Yeah, maybe.
Although I think I enjoyed the low budget nature of that one the most.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It feels a little long, especially that end. I'm just like, just wrap it up. And I get the point is like, that's another thing where the humor comes from. It's like that end is so drawn out. Like after they kill the alien.
They don't kill him.
Or
they abandon him.
Oh, they abandon him. They defeat him.
Yeah.
That end little scene where they're drinking, like, it's so drawn out. I'm like, just end it. What is this? There's nothing happening. But that's the point, I think. That's the humor.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I love that captain.
Yeah.
Captain Fraley. I could be wrong about this, but I think he is a throwback to an earlier Mihm movie, Destination Outer Space or something. Or maybe it was Attack of the Moon Zombies.
Is that why he gets like the hero treatment, kind of?
I think so, we've seen him before. I'm gonna have to look that up because that'll bother me. But I'm pretty sure that Captain Fraley is a throwback to a previous movie.
He feels like a Zap
Brannigan.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh yeah,
he was fun. Like the characters are so stilted in all these, and that's intentional. But his was like the most natural and fun. It's still ridiculous. I found it interesting that they really riff. They do on that one and in the first one real heavily. They riff on the sexism thing, but he still commits to the time period. He doesn't change that. The man, the captain, saves the day, even though like whatever, he should be fairly incapacitated. And the women just like kind of get pushed over. They're just laying on the ground the whole time while he's fighting, doing the final fight. And I'm just like, really? Like, you know, it's an issue, but you're still going to commit. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's appropriate.
Well, one of the women saved him, though.
That's true.
So.
I just thought it was funny.
Then she got knocked out.
But it's also embracing what makes those movies, the bad aspects of those movies for comedy.
Yeah.
Because, like, the one girl, like, gets pushed over, the one lady, and she just, like, lays there the whole time and then sits there and watches. And at one point, what was it? She needs to get up to rescue. Maybe it was him, rescue somebody. And it looks like she's just sitting there and then she just has to like get up and walk over there. But it looks like, not like she's struggling, like she's annoyed.
Yeah,
right.
She's like, that made me
I just
laugh,
looked
too.
it up and that character, Captain Fraley, as played by Daniel Svert. I'm going to get that name wrong. Jervin. But anyways, Captain Fraley, he is a character that comes back from Attack of the Moon Zombies.
And the actor, same actors appear in a lot of these that I've noticed. And he played the male lead, I guess you would say, in Giant Spider, I believe.
Who, the captain?
That seems right.
Not the captain. Was it the captain?
I thought so.
Captain.
I thought so.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Also,
Yes, Howard Johnson is the same actor.
okay.
Okay.
I thought so.
His face.
He's good. Oh,
He
he
is.
looks
Yeah,
quite a
he's
bit
real
different.
good. He's real good.
There's a lot of people in there, and it works perfectly for the aesthetic and what he's going for. But there's a lot of people in there that you can tell are like, you know, they're friends or family members or you know, not professional actors, and it works. That's kind of the brilliance of embracing the B grade, old school B grade aesthetic. And then there's occasional people where you're like, he's good. Like, even though he's hamming it up, he's actually pretty good. Like his expressions, he seems natural. Like you could tell there's a few people in there that are like, if they're not actual actors,
They could be.
they could be.
Yeah.
And he's one of them. I thought he was good. Melanie commented on him in the Giant Spider.
Yeah. He's got actor looks.
Yeah, exactly.
The kids, that was one of the things. The kids were like, there, I got all my lines out, you know, kind of thing.
Giant Spider opens with it's got to be one of Mim's son, I'm assuming, but it's Danny.
Oh yeah, Danny Johnson is his son. Yeah,
And he's running around playing in the woods, but like he spits the dialogue out, and it's just like, tried to rush through it, huh? He's just, and he's like, what? Yeah, second take? No, never mind. We're good. But that's, you know, again, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cool to see them too, like the kids, because you see them start to show up in the movies more and more. And then I think the next one after this is Danny Johnson Saves the World. And the new one that's coming out soon, that's going to be another one where Danny Johnson takes the lead role. And it's kind of cool to see how these kids, like watching these kids grow up in these movies has been fun.
After the first movie we watched, I went and watched a bunch of trailers on YouTube for his other movies, including the newest one, which I don't think is out yet. No, I don't think it is. But yeah, it's the one where it's like the Phantom Lake kids.
Yeah, that one's not out yet. Not
something the Beast, Walk with the Beast. I don't know, something about Beast. But yeah, I watched a bunch of trailers. I watched that, and you know, the kid that plays Danny was in Giant Spider, but that trailer had like the 4 kids, and then this is a segue into the third movie, or the second of the double feature, has all the kids in it as well. And I was like, whoa, like kids grow so fast.
Right.
So let's talk about this third one, the Wall People. And Jesse, you recommended the late night double feature because the Wall People is, you said, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, there's some elements that are like, whoa, you know, like what's going on with this? Because it's like you think you know what's going on, and then there's a twist, and and he plays with his environments in this one quite a bit in some fun ways. So at that same movie convention that I went to, that Scream in the Dark Film Festival, this is the one in particular that he recommended, at least at that time. And I think this was the most recent of his movies that had come out at that time. And he said, yeah, no, the wall people legitimately creeps me out. I could have nightmares about the wall people. I was like, I've got to see this now, because this guy watches a lot of horror movies. So, yeah.
So I enjoyed the giant spider, and I enjoyed the space one. They were fun. I actually really like the wall people.
Yeah.
It's still, and I wasn't sure what to expect. And it starts, and it feels
It feels like a comedy in the beginning to me a little bit.
Well, the opening scene with the credits felt a little bit more modern than 50s, but it still has the 50s aesthetic. And I love the score for the music in this one. It's all like old film music, but like this is all old analog synthesizer sounds, just weird sounds. The acting is super hammed up in this one. It is straight up comedy acting.
When he answers the door, oh my God.
I thought it was, that was good. But this one is kind of legitimate. This one is like the outlier of the three. And I really like it because it doesn't, maybe if anything, it's kind of feels like a Twilight Zone homage, but
yeah, I can
it's
see that.
still, it's so weird because it feels like its own thing. It feels, the story seems much more original than the other ones, but it's still through that 50s black and white B grade movie lens. And that makes it even weirder. But it's really good.
It is. It's like you can't, at a certain point, you realize you just can't really trust anything.
Right.
And it goes off the rails completely like twice. There's 2 points where I'm like, wait, what? Where is this going?
We're dead. You're dead. We're all dead. We're like, what?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
And then there's the witch. And I'm like, wait. What?
But she wasn't really a witch, was she?
No, she's just like a witchy being. She seemed like a witch, but she wasn't.
I kind of assumed that she was a human child that he had taken. And,
maybe.
And over the centuries, being exposed to his whatever made her that way, because she looks like a person, except, for these couple little differences. And if you look at him at the end, I mean, green and elongated features, which actually makes it much more sad.
I almost feel like he could dial back the camp on this one a little. Like even keep the production the same, because I like the look of it. That's kind of part of what makes it interesting. Like what we think is purgatory for a while. It's just black. It's just black void. And it's well handled.
It was great. It threw you off. It had twists or whatever, but also it had several different types of horror movie
ideas.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different interesting ideas in this one,
and like little things like the kids laughing. There's lots of little different ideas, all kind of floating around, but they come together well.
The witch feels. I'm not wild about the witch, but that's just because that's when it takes a twist, and it's like, oh no, it's actually this other thing, which is a much more sci-fi than straight horror. But also think about what I just said. When they introduce the witch is when it becomes much more sci-fi than horror. Doesn't make any sense, but that's what it is.
Right. Yeah. It's both. It's both things. Yeah.
There's also elements of like, you can't trust reality. You don't know what's reality. And it plays with that. And, it's a short film, so it kind of goes about it quick. But like to the point where we're going to give all the spoilers here. But it jumps like 5 years in the future, or it jumps ahead 5 years. And then
I love that bit too, because like he's just like holed up in like a mental institution in those 5 years trying to figure things out. And what was it? Though I don't remember which one of them, but one of the doctors is basically at his bedside reading him the story of the giant spider.
Yeah, the one in the Hawaiian shirt. That guy.
Yeah, with the mustache. By the way, the doctors, they're both in the giant spider as scientists. So same characters, I'm assuming. I like them in Giant Spider better just because they're so smarmy in this one. They're so smarmy because like they think he's crazy most of the time. So they kind of like annoyed me. I'm like, Of course, I know. Like, we know what we're watching. He's not just crazy. Something crazy is going to happen. But, whatever.
Well, that was the thing, too, because he went on, like, I know you don't get it. I don't think I'm crazy, and blah, blah, blah. And then he sticks his arm through a wall. And I'm like, that's what you lead with. You stick your arm through the wall, and then you go through the rest,
He really does. He does the thing. And they drag it out. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But that's also, like, they're going for humor. Mm-hmm. They drag it out so long to where he's like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but it's not crazy. Just let me show you. And they're like, well, what is it you're going to show us? Well, just let me explain it to you, blah, 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 blah. And he's not really explaining it. And he's just like still trying to convince them while he hasn't told them what he's convincing of. And it felt like it went on for like 5 minutes easily before, he sticks his hand through a wall and there's a crazy light show and all this. And they're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And Melanie did say, well, we're watching it. You lead with that.
Yeah. But that's so perfect for that era too, like that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do.
The opening scene with the credits and that first shot with all the hands, the shadows of the hands closing in on the kid, that was actually legitimately super well composed and like just really good. That was good.
I love the way that he realizes that it's all fake in the hospital too. I think that's
with the pictures and the and the one is a drawing of the monster that he encountered in the purgatory space.
One of them is that scene itself.
The scene that and I like that he's like, and the picture of the monster. Well, that's just a monster, but
yeah,
yeah.
That guy's performance. Like the scientist guys are they were smarmy and it annoyed me, but that they were doing okay. But they're totally appropriate for all these movies. That guy's performance though was as the guy, the dad or whatever, was good and entertaining, but like so over the top. His body posture and body language was so funny. Because he
was fun to watch. Oh my god,
hunched over.
Douglas Sidney plays Barney Collins. Yeah, he was super fun.
And he plays it like a kid. He's like, "You're gonna think I'm crazy." It just
yeah. You know who he kind of reminds me of? So I know you don't like him, but the like scary movie spoofy type movies. And I don't remember which one it was, and maybe it was the first one. I don't know. But at the end, they do like the Usual Suspects type thing, where they have Doofy.
Wait, was it actually Doofy or was that Scream?
No,
it was Doofy.
Yeah, that he felt like that to me. Like
sure.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, the Alien one was good. It had like nods of like The Thing almost a little bit, or Thing from another. Well, even The Thing from another from outer space or whatever the original didn't really cover this aspect of like it can imitate the crew, so you don't know who's who.
Right.
But I mean, that said, like the third one had such an interesting story that I would be curious. I don't say like play it straight, but I'd be curious to see an
extended,
maybe a less hammy version of this. But that's not really Mihm style.
Yeah.
Curious if he ever does anything that's outside of Mihm of
the Mihmiverse.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that as we go further into his filmography, he does start playing with that a little bit more. Like, what's a good example? Where's Skeeto Nazi Hunter? Even though that title alone really implies some pretty big camp, he does go a little darker with that one. And seems like he dials back, even though it's so ridiculous, like that title, he does dial back the camp a little bit in that, and it is a little more intentionally dark. And that came right after Danny Johnson Saves the World, where it's super almost Muppet Show level campy fun.
Do they say damn?
Oh, that was Melanie's huge hang up, especially the guy that played the military guy in. You say it.
Yeah, the military captain or whatever his title is. He's going on these rants and he's like, "Dang it!" And I'm like, that is not in character at all, and it pulls me out of the world. And he would say, "Damn it!" I don't care. They would take the fine.
No,
yes.
That's my thing though. They wouldn't say that in the 50s movie.
Not in the 50s.
They wouldn't say it in the 50s. The 40s, they got away with one in Gone with the Wind, and that was a controversy.
No, but they could have them in there, but they had to pay a fine.
And like I said, those B movies would not do that because that means they would have to pay out extra money. And that's not what they were about. They were about as cheap as possible, throw it in a drive-in, make some money, move on. They're not going to pay no fine for their decision to want to throw, a curse word in there.
That's not even a bad one. I mean, in the 30s, they dropped F-bombs. Come on.
Him not saying, damn it, is appropriate.
I don't like it, though. It doesn't... It's ugly.
That's those movies.
It's ugly, and I don't like it.
And nuts. He said nuts several times, too.
What did you think of like the slapping?
I loved it. Everyone had...
it's like a fun, like almost running gag at a certain point.
All three of them we watched had slapping. And the third one even to the point where the guy gets carried away and he's like, they're bad slaps,
Oh, yeah.
He slaps the guy
how do I know this
times.
is real? Slap.
He slaps him a bunch, then goes over. The other guy's like, just looks at him. He's like, what? I've been wanting to do that since we got here. Yeah, I don't know. These were very fun. They were very entertaining. Also, Christopher R. Mihm was in Giant Spider.
He usually plays a voice. Like, I believe he plays the voice of the computer in
fun.
in Fiend,
The Hal
from
the
Beyond
Hal
Space.
nod.
Yes, yeah. I can't do that.
Yeah, I appreciated that. It's good fun. The Wall People, I'm glad you recommended that one, because that one, I'll remember all these, of course, but that's the one I think that'll stick with me for a while, because it was unique amongst them, but still within, I guess, an appropriate canon.
Well, this is kind of appropriate, too, because I think these are the two that were the most recent when you interviewed him way back on episode 7. I know he had mentioned the Giant Spider for sure, and if the late night double feature hadn't come out, it was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What's his name again?
Christopher R. Mihm?
Christopher. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they also do a podcast.
yes, actually, when you talked to him, there was the Bonfire podcast, I believe, and that has since gone on hiatus. But Christopher R. Mihm, he's still regular. He does a monthly Mimiverse audio cast.
His catalog is impressive.
You want to know what the budget was for the Giant Spider?
$10,000.
$7,500.
Wow.
I am impressed.
I believe there's some stop motion animation and stuff too, isn't there?
I'm so glad there is.
His face.
I
Aw.
loved the spider, the creature design when you get the close up of the spider's face.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Like I think it's him. I think it's Christopher R. Mihm. I could be wrong. Whoever designs his monsters, they're so good.
It was Mitch Gonzalez, I believe.
Oh, okay.
All the monsters. Yeah.
I love his designs because they're usually appropriately a little wacky, appropriate to the time frame, but also there's a little extra to where he embraces, like, the spider looks strange. It's gross and kind of goofy, but also like kind of cute because it always gives the creatures these like bulbous eyes.
Uh-huh.
It's so good.
It is cute. I like it.
If I could find a picture online, maybe I'll include that. Maybe that'll be like the episode artwork for this episode or something. But it's so
Models and digital effects by Christopher R. Mihm in The Giant Spider.
good. Yeah, I remember. I must have been the Giant Spider. I was watching the credits, and like under his name, it's just there's so many things, including Spider Wrangler, and like there's so many credits for him on there. $7,500. I feel like there's probably definitely a lot of friends helping out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that money probably went to just like props and materials and location.
Yeah. The
Equipment.
Wall People was 10,000.
Oh, the double feature one?
No, just the Wall People, not both of them. Just the Wall People.
Just the Wall People was 10,000?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Well, that one for sure has stop animation, like a little bit of claymation type of stuff.
Oh yeah.
You've got like the lightning effects from the witch when she's attacking.
Brainiac's got to be.
After Brainiac. Yeah, when the creature at the end of that one finally popped up, Belly's like, Brainiac. Yeah, definitely.
Well, and he's got the weird helmets that he's stuck in their stuff out with.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's the same kid. So was this one was the Wall People made first? Because he looks smaller in this one than he did in the Giant Spider.
No, but I did notice they did a clever thing to where at the beginning they used what I am assuming is the youngest kid,
Oh, okay.
a real little kid, And then when he first finds him in the forest, he sees him as the real little kid, but then it cuts back to him and it's the older kid because it's been like 8 years in the story.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yes and no, both. Also, the Wall People had some really like downer concepts in it. Super downer. They steal kids to because he needs food, which I liked a lot. And the spoilers, he gets the kid back. That kid looks brain dead.
Yeah, he does.
He just stares off and doesn't say anything. And then
It's trauma, man. He's been on
turns and
Pluto
looks at
for
him.
how long?
like 8 years. Like 8 years. This kid is gonna be damaged.
Yeah.
And the whole time, all he had to do was like sit there and think, is this a planet? Is this not a planet? Is it a dwarf planet? I don't know.
When that one little kid, like, it was a really good line, but when the kid tells him, he's like, "You're dead." And I was like, wait, what did the kid say? Did he say you're dead? Whoa, this is really taking a turn. And that's when it kind of does for a little bit before it twists again. But I love that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, just give me a hug. Let me wrap my arms around you and touch you. And sure. The lady says. It's like, yep, nope, something's wrong.
I would absolutely recommend these. I love these. But I would put a caveat on that because it's not going to be for everybody. And I think you'll find that, especially if you look at like Amazon.com reviews, which you guys streamed these or rented these from Amazon.
Yes, we rented these on Amazon, and thank God Amazon just finally, not long ago, allowed streaming to Chromecast again. Apparently Amazon and Google set their crap aside.
Yay.
Oh, good.
Because they were technically competing with their streaming devices. And
oh, yeah, because of the Fire Stick or whatever.
Yeah, so Amazon got all huffy and was like, well, no Amazon app on the Chromecast then. But they've reversed that since just recently. So that's how we watched it. Yeah.
Good. I was going to say that's because that's how we watch it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We rented this on Amazon in HD and it was worth it. It was $3 for a rental. I think it's like $10 to buy most of these, or you can rent the standard def for $2.
I had this on DVD, so I watched it with the subtitles on because if you get the DVDs or the Blu-rays, he does his own subtitles and they're so good. Like when they're zapping the fiend in X, it's like you can only put the sound effect of zap so many times. So like at one point it's like zapparoni and cheese. There's just like fun. Super fun little Easter eggs in the subtitles. So.
Yeah, as far as I could tell, you can only find these on Amazon or through his website. I don't believe it's available anywhere else, which surprised me. Something I was telling Melanie, I was like, this guy, I'm like surprised he doesn't have like a deal with Shudder or some streaming service because he's got a huge catalog. Like he puts out like a movie a year, easy.
Yeah. Yep.
And they're not bad. Like they're better than some of the stuff I see on these streaming services. Such high praise. They're not bad, but what I mean is like, yeah, they're low budget, but like they're well made.
Mm-hmm. There's some low budget stuff that we've seen that's fantastic.
That's true.
And then there's a lot that's not, but it's nice to find those gems.
But I'm surprised like he doesn't have a deal with some streaming service or something.
I've been listening to his Mihmiverse audio and audiocast, his monthly podcast, and I think like he's looking into it, but it's one of those things where like you got to know people that can develop that kind of thing. Like the best would be for him to probably have his own streaming service, to have a Mihmiverse kind of situation. Otherwise, because I don't think he makes a lot of money from the streaming of things on Amazon. It's just nice because it can get it out in front of a lot of people.
Well, and I think any kind of deal you get with a streaming service, if it's a streaming, it's, Netflix isn't going to be beating the guy's door down, but something like, like random, I don't know, Tubi TV or Shudder, which is, they specialize in
or
horror.
Chiller.
Stuff. Is Chiller a thing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Like some of those services have just the worst movies, like real low budget, but bad movies.
Like the Scarecrow one.
So yeah, we won't talk about that. I don't know if that movie ever finished. It's like the one movie I could legit have a credit on.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Well, it was bad before you touched it, baby.
I don't know if that movie was ever a thing. Anyway, I did visual effects on a movie.
Oh, that's right.
I randomly come across those video files last week or something. I don't know. I was digging around for something on a hard drive, and I come across it and watched it, and I was like, not great, not bad.
Yeah.
Some, like, After Effects action from 7 years ago, something like that. Hey, Corridor Digital, react to this effect. Okay, anyway, what were we saying? Yeah, I'm surprised, but I'm sure services like that don't pay out a lot of money. Like Amazon probably takes a big cut, but he's probably gets better return on actual views through Amazon than some of these services would offer.
Well, one of the reasons that I brought it up is that like he'll have people who review the movie, and there are the people who understand, that get it, that buy into the homage factor and the fact that he is making a period piece with new technology. And then there are other people that are just like, this is just bad. This is a waste of my time, that kind of thing. Like they don't get it. They're not buying in. They don't understand what Mihm is doing with these movies, and they come just to troll. So I wouldn't recommend it to anybody that isn't already
savvy or aware.
Yeah, that they're not savvy or they don't already have a love for the genre.
Yeah, because I mean, they are entertaining, but there is commitment to the genre, to the homaging, to a point where they're a little slow paced, because that's how those movies were. And I feel like the writing in these and the acting and like the knowingly embracing some of the negative aspects of these movies make it more entertaining than some of the actual older movies.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's still there. So if you're not aware of that, or you're dense, or you just it's not your thing, yeah, I could see you not really being into it.
And he's also like played with that in releases after these, where it's like, okay, I know this is a criticism that I've gotten about pacing, and this, like the next movie is probably one of his shorter movies. The Danny Johnson one is really tight in terms of runtime.
Real quick though, so these are intentionally bad movies. This is some Jesse.
They're good bad movies.
When you were talking about like who might be into it, who might not be, this popped in my head, because intentionally campy or B-grade movies or bad movies, it's actually kind of common at this point. But I feel like these movies are much better than the general intentionally bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because those movies usually it comes down to attitude. A lot of movies that go for that, it's purely making fun of like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, yeah, see how dumb this was? Haha, we could do it too because it's easy and it's dumb. And that is not the attitude of these at all. Like these,
he loves movies. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I'm a fan, clearly, at this. I mean, if it wasn't clear before, I'll just say it. I'm a fan. But if you talk to him in person, it just oozes off of him. He loves movies. You can come to him with a discussion on pretty much any movie, and I think he'll probably have something to say about it.
Like, these are making fun of, but also like making fun of a thing that you could tell he loves.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's like the interaction you have with your siblings, you know, like you love your siblings, so you can give them the most crap.
Yeah.
It's got a good heart. All these movies have a good heart behind them. You can tell good intention, as opposed to like just being snide or like sarcastic. Mm-hmm. Because I know like that kind of meta bad, intentionally bad thing can turn a lot of people off. Well, hey, I will include show notes, of course. I think his website's like sainteuphoria.com or something, but I'll include show notes with links to where you can find these movies. They were very entertaining. Let's see. I guess happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween!
In terms of in-house news, I've just got GCU coming up. Next episode of Grawlix Cinematic Universe dropped just before Halloween, and we will be Jesse, you'll be there with us.
Oh, hey.
We will be discussing Murder Party and the Warriors.
Ooh.
If you've seen Murder Party, and chances are you haven't, although it is on Netflix now, there's an obvious Warriors reference in Murder Party, but also they seem fitting because they're both like, we have to survive this night movies. So yeah, I think it'd be fun. It'd be a fun potential for a double feature or for a shared universe.
And there ain't no party like a murder, like a murder warrior party, because a murder warrior party don't stop.
You're right. I like that. That's good. Episode 100 is coming up. Maybe next episode. Maybe we'll put out. Maybe there will be more Grawlix Nights episodes. I guess I do want to take a moment to ask you, audience member, especially if you've lasted this long into the episode, then you are a true fan. How do you feel about the Grawlix Nights when it pops up on your podcast feed? I'm super curious about this because I feel like there's some good stuff in the Grawlix Nights. They don't really get the same editing though as a normal episode, and I don't know. I feel like it's basically more of the same, so it'd be good, but maybe you don't like it. I'm just curious. Basically, what I want to know is if people are upset when they see it's a Grawlix Nights that pops up instead of a proper episode, if they're like, ah.
Yeah, right.
It's a cheat. Like, okay, it's more of the same. It's just there's more ums in this.
Right.
And Paul. There's more ums in Paul.
there's more ums. There's more Paul. Maybe there's a Matt D. Maybe.
Yep. Or if you're going to be like, oh, it's a Grawlix Nights. What movie are they complaining about now? The last three I put up on the feed are our movie reviews of the movies that we just kind of spent like an hour tearing apart.
Yeah.
but those are fun. Like that's why I chose those to go up on the proper feed because man, those episodes, those are fun.
Yeah. Even
Punisher. I found myself defending Punisher a little bit, not like hardcore defending it, but defending it a little bit on Twitter.
Right.
I was talking to one of the guys that used to be
Hog?
I was talking to Lava Hog. He used to be in Parlapod, the Parlapod podcast. Yeah. And he is not a fan of the movie at all. And I just told him, I was like, my defending when it so far is like, yeah, it's not great, but it's pretty entertaining. We still spent like 45 minutes just tearing the movie apart.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. and he watched it because of that.
He said he owed us a haymaker.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, and Brightburn, our Brightburn review went up. So, stuff like that. It's all stuff that still feels totally, I mean, that's why we cover certain movies on Grawlix Nights, because they still feel Grawlix appropriate.
Right.
All right, everybody. Well, that's all I got. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Was this a frightful
Hopefully you aren't visited by
episode.
any giant spiders, any wall people, or any fiends from beyond space. And if you are, make sure that you know some scientist friends to come help you out.
Yeah. Just try not to act so crazy when they show up.
Yeah. Or maybe you're all dead.
Hey you, listener, do you like the scary, the terrifying, and the macabre? Then boy, do I have a podcast for you. Head on over to Moose's Marvelous Woodburnings on Facebook on the 25th of every month, starting in October, for new episodes of Moose's Monster Mash, a podcast about horror, where myself and one of my friends sit down each month and discuss different horror movies. That's Moose's Monster Mash, and it's only available at Moose's Marvelous Woodburnings on Facebook.com.
This is Melanie. This sonic transducer, it is, I suppose, some kind of audio vibratory physio-molecular Grawlix device.
This is Jesse. Let's show this prehistoric Grawlix how we do things downtown.
This has been Randy. They murdered my family. They thought they murdered me. My actions are not vengeance. No, not vengeance. Grawlix. Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of the Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. For more Grawlix Podcast, visit grawlixpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/grawlixpodcast, or follow us on Twitter at grawlixpodcast. We're also everywhere. All the time. All at once. I want to talk to Christopher Armim just about the wall people. Be like, well, I've made like 18.
I bet if you reach out to him, he'd totally be down for that. It would be all about scheduling.
Like, so Christopher, he's like, yeah, I made like 14, 18 movies. I'm like, yeah, but the wall people, let's talk about this.
Let's talk about one half of your double feature.
One half of one of them.
I got to think he'd probably be pretty fascinated with your fascination.